Hi, my name is Jazzy. Welcome back to me talking about movies. Today we're going to be talking about another Christmas movie, specifically another Netflix Christmas movie.
Christmas is a big deal for my family. And every year I'm this problem they all have to solve because I'm always the single one.
I think you should come home with me. We can pretend we fell in love after all these years.
It'd be so easy. My family already asked why we're not just together.
All right. Thank you.
I got my hot chocolate, and we're going to be talking about Single All the Way. Single All the Way is a Netflix Christmas rom-com. This film is about Peter, who's had a string of unfortunate relationships with men in LA. After his latest breakup, he convinces his best friend Nick to come with him to his family's Christmas in New Hampshire and pretend to be his new boyfriend. However, when they arrive, Peter's mom tells him that she's already set him up with another man in town. So Peter's original plan gets scrapped. And although Peter is originally reluctant to go on the blind date, he soon starts to enjoy spending time with the guy named James. Meanwhile, Nick is starting to realize his own feelings for Peter. Luckily, Nick has the rest of Peter's family shipping them together, especially Peter's nieces. As you may have noticed, Netflix has done a pretty good job of copying Hallmark and Lifetime's Christmas movie model, which also includes making their movies as heteronormative as possible. However, like Lifetime and Hallmark, they are slowly working on changing that. This is Netflix's first Christmas movie to focus on a gay romance. So when I saw the trailer, I was really excited to see this, especially when I saw who was cast in it. I'll get to that more in a bit. First, I want to talk about the main characters. As far as the main cast goes, Urie does a great job as Peter. He does a good job playing the main rom-com lead. I'd only seen him before in Ugly Betty, and he plays an entirely different character in this movie. He has the typical rom-com job of working in social media, and he has a quirk: his love of plants.
Oh, just because I'm finally in a relationship doesn't mean you're any less important to me. You saved me. When Zach broke my heart, changed my life forever. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have any of my other plans. Ow! Ow! Judith! Don't be jealous. I love you too.
I just realized Nick DeRemio could have been the perfect lead for this movie. That's a shame. If I ever make a Christmas rom-com, the first person I'm calling is Nick. Although, while Peter's job is in social media, he's not an influencer, he's actually a social media strategist. Which I guess according to this movie is watching shirtless guys get their photos taken, which sounds like a good deal. And in fact, later his job actually gets incorporated a little bit into the movie. He and his co-star Philemon Chambers have great chemistry in this movie. They sell the idea of them being friends who slowly start to realize their feelings for one another. And as I mentioned before, I was really excited to see Jennifer Coolidge and Kathy Najimy in this movie.
Gorgeous stars came with the trees. I love them.
I do too.
Give.
Both women are renowned character actresses. Jennifer Coolidge is probably most well known for being in American Pie and Legally Blonde, while Kathy Najimy is probably most famous for being in Hocus Pocus and voicing Peggy Hill on King of the Hill. Both women are considered gay icons, so it makes sense that they would be in this movie. They even acknowledged Jennifer Coolidge's status in the movie, so it was definitely intentional.
Gays just know how to do stuff, you know? I mean, they're survivors. And for some reason, you're always obsessed with me. I don't know why.
Kathy Najimy plays Peter's mom, who is very supportive and has a quirk of making inspirational signs. You know, like the kind you see at Target.
I thought you were Peter. I'm having his gift.
Can I see what you're giving him?
Yeah, you promise not to tell?
Oh, you are planted. Oh, I love that.
I know, I love it too. Oh, do you want to see the one I made for Lisa?
Yes.
Ready?
Jennifer Coolidge plays Aunt Sandy, who's directing the kids' Christmas pageant. She's very campy with delusions of grandeur.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King.
I like the family overall. Personally, I like Christmas movies that focus on the family as well, especially if they're likable. It also makes sense for this movie since Peter mentioned several times that he is considering moving from LA back home. I wonder if this is a reference to a lot of influencers slash YouTubers who have been leaving LA a lot recently. Probably not. Since Peter's spending a lot of time with James, Nick has a lot of great moments spending time with the family, especially with the nieces who consistently try to get Nick to pursue Peter. Oh, also, just to mention, there's also Barry Bostwick playing Peter's dad, who you might recognize as Brad from Rocky Horror Picture Show. There's also Jennifer Robertson, who plays one of Peter's sisters, who you might recognize as Jocelyn from Schitt's Creek. Her character is pretty similar to Jocelyn from Schitt's Creek, just with better hair.
Why are we all in separate rooms wrapping our gifts at the same time at our mother's house? Because that's what we did when we were kids. But now we're grown-ups with our own houses. So you're wondering, why do they still have to wrap them here? Great question, Nick. And the non-answer answer to that is because this is the annual Harrison family secret wrapping party, courtesy of Christmas Carol.
This movie is cheesy in the best ways possible and indulges in a lot of the Christmas rom-com tropes. It's not as far-fetched and wacky as the Princess Switch or a Christmas Prince movies, but it has its own moments of silliness. Mostly with how the family, aside from Kathy and Najimy, are so focused on getting Peter and Nick together.
What's happening? No. Oh, no.
Aw, is one of them proposing?
Well, maybe Nicholas actually listened to me.
What do you mean? What did you tell him?
Realistically, a family wouldn't focus that much on a family member's love life. I mean, I know family members tend to be pretty nosy, but they're not as pushy as the ones in this movie. I guess it's somewhat excusable considering it's mostly the nieces who are doing most of the pushing. They sort of act like the audience surrogate for the movie.
It's so obvious. How come only Grandpa sees what we see? All you have to do is look at their faces. It's pure love. I know, but why don't even they see it is the question.
This is clear early on when they just flat out say they think Peter and Nick should be together after seeing them interact for just a few minutes. Then again, this genre isn't exactly known for its subtlety. Momo! Okay, you can be my table. I appreciate the movie abandons the idea of having Peter and Nick pretend to be a couple early on. As much as I like the fake relationship trope, I thought it was a nice subversion to have them not go through with it. The movie instead trades it in for bringing in a romantic false lead character named James, played by Luke McFarland. His presence causes Nick to realize his feelings for Peter. I think McFarland did a good job as the false lead character, being hot and likable enough for you to believe Peter would be attracted to him, but boring enough where you don't really want him to get together with Peter at the end. I also appreciate how the family is already aware and accepting of Peter's sexuality. I know people tend to have mixed feelings when it comes to coming out storylines and gay romance movies, mostly because it tends to be pretty frequent. While coming out is still a thing for a lot of queer people, it's nice to have a little bit of escapism and not have to portray it in every movie featuring a gay character. And while the family is accepting, that doesn't mean they don't occasionally slip into some microaggressions, mainly from Peter's dad.
You know, it's not every day that you meet a gay handyman. How did you learn how to do all this stuff?
Oh, I mean, YouTube and HGTV.
What is that, the Homosexual Gay Network?
Basically.
Also, having Peter's mom being overly supportive to the point where she even bought a book to understand her son better, that also is a nice balance.
I know. You've told me that millions of times when I've asked you why you aren't with Nick, but I understand much better now. I'm reading this great book. It's called Loving Your LGBT Child.
I think you mean LGBTQ.
Yeah, whatever. Do I? Yeah, sure. That's it. Yes.
I should also point out that both the director and the writer for this movie are both gay men. This allows the gay characters in the movie to feel less like caricatures and more like real characters, albeit a little slightly exaggerated. Writer Chad Hodges also has a Broadway background, which I think helped a lot with the character of Aunt Sandy, especially with the scenes regarding the Christmas pageant.
I said everybody needs to be off book, or I'm going to be doing their dialogue. And I'm going to have to do just that. None of you have any lines. None of you. None of you. None of you. None of you.
This is why it's important to have representation off camera as it is to have it on camera. According to an interview, he was actually approached to write this movie. He was specifically asked, hey, do you want to write a gay Christmas movie? And he was like, I would love to do that. I wanted it to be something that I'd want to watch myself, and for it to be a Christmas movie that would be recognizable and enjoyable for an LGBTQ audience. At the same time, I didn't want to do a movie that would only speak to a gay audience and that no one else would find interesting or relatable. Because Christmas is so much about family, so I wanted there to be some sort of family aspect to it. I think he achieved that with this movie. While the family isn't perfect, they clearly love each other, and they're the type of family that I think anyone would want to spend Christmas with. As far as my criticisms for the movie, I would say there weren't a lot of laugh out loud moments. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did laugh. It's kind of hard not to with Jennifer Coolidge in the cast. But they were more like inside laughs where you kind of smile and let out a little bit of air, but you're not really like laughing out loud. At least there weren't a lot of cringy joke moments. And while this movie does show progress with it being about a gay romance, it does also suffer a problem that a lot of other Netflix romantic movies have, where the cast tends to be very white. Nick is the only black character in the main cast, although to the film's credit, his race is pretty incidental to his character. However, since the movie is about going to Peter's family for Christmas, that means we're surrounded by a primarily white cast. To be fair, this is most likely due to the writer being white and writing to his own experiences. Once again, this kind of goes into why it's important to have representation off camera as it is to have it on camera. Overall, I thought this was an enjoyable movie, especially for the holiday. Yes, it's full of cliches, but it's cliches we know and love for this time of the year. I would recommend this movie to anyone that likes Christmas rom-coms. Let me know if you've seen this movie. Let me know if you loved it. Would you watch it again? Let me know if there are other Christmas movies or Christmas rom-coms that you like to watch this time of the year. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye, and Merry Christmas.